Very good girl. I'm filming. Hello, welcome back to my channel. That was me chatting to the dog. Today I'm going to be doing my January, don't know, what's it called? The books I read in January. My January wrap up. There we go. It's early-ish. I've been up a while. I watched the second episode of It's a Sin. I can watch them all in one go, but my mum can only watch them weekly, so we're watching them together and then we catch up on a Sunday and discuss the episode. So I've been up watching that. I've gotten dressed, me, yeah, and I've got to do a little bit of housework. But first things first, January wrap up. So I really hope the sound is okay. My laptop is getting older and I am too busy spending money on second-hand books to buy a new laptop. Definitely. And I'm drinking coffee. I'm trying to keep the energy up. It's hard work. It's the story of my life, trying to keep my energy up. Anyway, January was a fantastic month for my reading. I don't mean so much in quantity, although I did read quite a few. How many did I read? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I read 6 books, 1 short story that's not included here because I would like to add that to my wrap up once I've read the whole book. And what else did I read? I read a poetry collection, although I'm not going to cover that currently. Oh, that sounded so shady. I didn't like it, so maybe it is. But anyway, so I'm going to go in order that I read the books, just because I keep track in a little file of facts. There's a little bit of useless information. So yes, let's dive right in. Oh wait, I've got my little file of facts here actually to remind me of what I rated them. Although I only rate them to kind of remind myself of the feel I got. Excuse me. But I'll tell you what I gave them anyway. So the first book is it's not even it's just Black Narcissus by Aruma Godden. And this, I think I have mentioned this, so I do apologise, but this follows a group of nuns, yes, that go up to the Himalayas to try and build a school there and a dispensary so they can help the local people, you know, doing God's work and all that. It doesn't go that well. Oh, excuse me, I just need to take care of the dog. Sorry. So yeah, they go off to the Himalayas. There's a group of them. I believe I wrote a review of this on my blog, which I'll try and link below so you can read my more in-depth thoughts. The problem with it being at the beginning of January, and now it's the end of January, but I'm waffling. What's new? Don't really want to give too much away, just that obviously things don't quite go to plan. There is temptation, there is a different way of life, and it's such a shock to the system for the sisters. I will say this book was written a while ago, so some of the language really is abhorrent to us now, and it's not like, you know, there's not loads of it throughout the book, but there is enough that every time I came across one of the words I was like, really took me out of the moment. But just bear that in mind if you're reading it. There were certain terms used for people in the local area, and I just found it, I don't know, it's just like, really? But I digress from the story. I think I said in my review on my blog that I just wanted, as much as I loved it, and I did love it because I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, I'm not sure. I definitely want to reread it, and that's always a good sign of a 4/5 for me, is if I'm going to keep a book to reread it. I wanted a little bit more. This is going to sound contradictory, but I wanted a little bit more, but what I was given was just enough to get my mind working on what the problem was. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that can give you such more of a social commentary and a breakdown on the psychology of what's happening to the sisters. Maybe I could too if I learn a bit more, you know, but as it stands, I'm just a reader. I'm doing the best I can, but overall I enjoyed it. We go down the route of, I don't know how to describe it. The sisters, not necessarily, I mean, there's some turning on each other and there's a man thrown into the mix, and yeah, I enjoyed it, to be fair. I did try to watch the TV series and I didn't enjoy it at all, but I did enjoy the book, so there we have it. Not very articulate, am I? This is why I don't do wrap-ups that well. I find I'm better at blogging, but I suppose the only way to get better is to keep doing it. Anyway, the next book was a straight up 5. There was even no doubt about it. And that was The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. I've had this book since July last year, and I only read it in January of 2021. Oh, and I've not even been to America, let alone New York, and I loved it. So I'm sure you all know what it's about. If you don't, I'll make it brief. We basically follow a group of people who are the living personifications of New York. New York is birthing, but something's gone wrong. And let me tell you, I just had a wild ride. I love the characters. I love the way the story was told. Can you see it probably had a bigger impact on me than the Black Narcissus? I'm really getting into it. And I loved the War in the Plants. And I really loved how it was written. The POVs blew my mind, and especially the imagery that I was given by the author. Oh, it was so good. I loved it. Yes, I flew through this book, and it is my first N.K. Jemisin book, but not the only one I own. I think I've said that. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. And I think I may even reread this at some point. It's a 5, so, but oh, I can't wait. I mean, when I finished it, because I'm behind, excuse me, I'm behind on kind of like new releases, and I don't really keep up with authors. So I was like, when is the next book coming? Not yet. But I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I hope, I mean, it's none of my business, you know, N.K. Jemisin knows what she's doing, but I'd love for her to do another city and then have a crossover. That would be so good. So good. But yeah, I highly recommend it. It's weird, it's fast paced, it's beautiful, it's very annoying in places, but not in like, oh come on, but in the sense of some of the characters and what they get up to, and it's like, makes you angry. It's like, just get on the train. That's not a reference to the train, but if you've read it, you might know what I'm referencing. I don't know. I'm waffling. So yeah, The City We Became. Loved it. The next book I read is We the Survivors by Tash R. Sorry, Tash, if I'm pronouncing your surname incorrectly. So Tash, let me get this for you, was born in Taipei to Malaysian parents. And this book does follow Ahok, who is a young man with vague ideas of living in a better place than the Malaysian village he was born into. Again, I flew through this book. It is absolutely character driven. The way it is written, which is fascinating because it's a look back. So Tash's character is recounting his story to somebody, and the way he recounts it, it's almost detached, and it's fantastic because you kind of get the feeling that he's telling the truth by telling it that way. There's not a huge amount of emotion on his part. He just tells it like it is. But don't get me wrong, it is sad. It is sad. It's eye-opening, I think. So we follow basically the character and how he wants a better life for himself. So we follow him from his childhood living in a village and then moving to a city and all the shit that comes with that, a toxic friendship, a toxic love, the love for his mother, and how they try to build their world together. And I really liked it. And I think I said in my review, because I don't blog every book I read, like type of blog, but you know, a lot of them I do if I find that I've been specifically touched by the book. And I can't remember, there was a bit here where, I mean, it talks a lot about the abuse of people being brought over for labour, and just because it takes place in this country, Malaysia, I think it's absolutely apt for every country that gets in foreign workers to do the jobs that nobody wants to do and the treatment of them. It was just, you know, it happens, but then when you read it from someone else's perspective, especially this country, it was just sad and rather amazing. One of the things that really stuck me, I don't know if I tabbed it. I have tabbed something. Should we see what I've tabbed? Oh no, I've tabbed something about gods. Anything with a bit of religion, myth in it, I'm there. But no, there was a bit that was saying about how the the work for the palm oil was drying up because the world had woken up to the effects of palm oiling and how that affected the local people, and it took away their livelihood. And that was like, there are people at the other end, and they're not bad people, like the workers. I mean, not necessarily the governments and the big corporations, but it was just like, oh my God, of course. There was people that were affected by the decision that this is not the right way to do it. And I don't know, maybe that makes me sound ignorant. I can never say the word. But anyway, I've waffled enough. The book was beautiful. I'd recommend it if you haven't read it, especially this edition, because it's got sprayed edges. I know that sounds pretty flimsy after saying what the book's about, but I really love the book so much. And what did we give it? I gave it 4 to 5. No reason why 4 to 5. It was just a 4 to 5, but I did like it. So, time for coffee. Can you help not stare at my gap? It's a huge gap, isn't it? I've always had buck teeth, but so did Freddie Mercury. So I don't give a shit. Anyway, that was a bit of a self-indulgent post there. The next book I read was 5 stars. I loved it. It was Daylight Come by Diana Macaulay. I've mentioned this in a haul because I got it for Christmas, and just to give you an idea of how much I love this book. So good. So in this book we followed, let me get the names correct, Sorrel and Bibi, and I loved them. Their world, our world, is dying, but we follow it from their perspective, and they are in, where did I say? Baruka? I wonder if it's, I still don't know if I'm saying that correctly, which is shame on me, but anyway, that aside, the author is a environmental activist, and she came across a story about Indian people working in fields in really hot countries and the effect it had on them, and it led her to write this book on what it would be like to have climate change in an already hot climate. And let me tell you, it was a wild ride. I loved it. The only thing, and I said this in my blog because I did blog about this, was that I just wanted a bit more in places. But that wasn't necessarily a slight on the author, because I'm wondering if that was deliberate, because the world is ending, so the story's got to be told quickly, if that makes sense. So, we don't necessarily have time to flesh out little bits of things that I want fleshing out. That said, the world building is immense. Just because it's a small book, you get a feel of that. The world is dark, obviously. I mean, it's bright, but it's just, yeah, and humans, of course, will turn on humans. The world is ending. Let's just turn on our fellow humans and make sure there's not enough to go around. There's so much cruelty in this book, which, it's just humans, isn't it? Regardless of whether the world was ending or not, humans are just cruel to humans. But there's also so much love, sisterhood, brotherhood, and yeah, the Bibi definitely. I mean, I love Sorrel and I loved all the other characters. They were really well drawn, but Bibi was my favourite character. She really was. So I recommend this. Buy it from Peepal Tree Press. I'm sure you can get it from Amazon, but try and buy it direct if you can, just because they're awesome people. And yeah. Is that preachy? I'm preaching. Buy it direct from the publisher if you're in England. I don't know if they ship overseas. You'll have to look that up. But yeah, I love that book. And I'm going to find more from the author. Tip top. Anyway, the next book was my least rated book. But let's just get to it. Not for any particular... I'd make a great book reviewer. So anyway, Sleeping Giants. Who's this by? Sorry. I can't pronounce his name. But anyway, so Sleeping Giants follows the story of Rose Franklin, who falls into a hole, and when she's discovered, it turns out she's inside a giant robot hand. And that's where our story takes us. It's sci-fi, it's written in interviews and personal diaries, which I did enjoy, actually, although it did take me a little while to get into it, because it's not a medium that I read that often, although I do enjoy it because Dracula is written in diary entries, so I do enjoy it. The story, I loved the characters. I absolutely loved the characters. Although the back just mentions Dr. Franklin, but there was somebody you'd think, considering I'd only just read it, that I'd remember the name. But it can't. Yeah, there's a Vincent in it. He's fab. Cara, that's it. Cara is amazing. Thank you, Cara. So yeah, we kind of just follow the science of it, discovering more, learning more, and again, people being jerks, which is fabulous. And I was unsure if I was going to not finish it, because I think I got to the halfway point before I was like, am I going to finish it? And I finished it. And I was like, as I was reading, I was like, I don't know if I'll pick up the following books. I have them because this was my brother's. He donated all of them to me. I was like, I don't know if I will. But then as it started to go on, I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I shouldn't say oh my God, because I don't want to offend anyone. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then I was like, and then the end, and I was like, I'm going to have to read book 2. So that's where I'm at with this. I had a fun ride. I did have a fun ride, but I found myself slipping out of it some of the time. I don't know whether or not, again, like I said, because it's the medium it was written in, I'm just not used to it, or some of the story aspects just didn't gel with me. But it was good. Does that make sense? Just because it didn't gel with me all the time, I can tell it's good. It's better than good. It's probably quite great. I enjoyed it nonetheless. So, and I will be picking up book 2. Sorry, the video would go quicker if I'd stopped drinking coffee, but it's latte. And the last book I read, which I stayed up late. I can't stay up past 11 o'clock. I can't, but I do get up early to make up for it. So I spent all of Saturday finishing this book to make sure I could put it in the video. But I was having a wild ride anyway, so it's not like I was just like rushing to get to the end. And that was The Fisherman by John Langan. And my brother gave me this because when I was in his room, it sounds really dodgy, there's 5 of us that live in one house. Me, my husband, my brother, my sister-in-law, and my nephew. So we all live in a house. Just in case you were like, why in your brother's bedroom? Do you still live at home? No. Anyway, and I saw that he had this, and I was like, when you're done with that, I would like to read it, please. I've seen it around. And he was like, yeah. And then he donated some books to charity, or sold them, I can't remember. And he was like, oh, do you want this one before I? And I was like, yes, please. And oh, it was so good. And it was a wild ride. It was literally a wild ride. So we follow, I don't want to give too much away, but basically we follow Abe and Dan. It says on the back, actually, so it's not a spoiler. 2 widows who have found solace in each other's company and a shared passion for fishing. They hear rumours of a creek. It's a creepy creek, as you would expect. And that's all I'm going to tell you. But I have to tell you, I tabbed it. So this was page 2 that I tabbed, because just to let you know, I thought this was just so, this lets you know right away what you're getting. I can tell you only what I had heard and what I saw. I know Dutchman's Creek runs deep, much deeper than it could or should, and I don't like to think what it's full of. Literally, that was page 2, and I knew from that sentence, I was like, this is for me. So I love the way the story is told. Don't want to give too much away. I don't think it's a spoiler, but it's nice to come to it by yourself. So there is stories within stories within stories within stories. There may be a couple of extra stories thrown in there, but there is. And I can say that I enjoyed the whole thing overall. The beginning, loved. The middle, my goodness, wow. The end, not so much. Now, only because I enjoyed having the story wrapped up. I did. But the only problem for me, the only problem that I found for myself was that by the time you'd had that middle chunk of, oh my God, you knew that you were going to have to go back to the story at the start and finish that. You know, you're on board for it. But for me, I was just like, is this the end? Nope. It felt like it should have ended sooner than it did, but I don't mean to be nasty. I don't mean it like that. It was just, there was probably a few too many pages at the end. I was like, are we done? And we weren't. We went into something else for a bit, and I was like, whew. So that was the only niggle for me, was just as preference. It felt tacked on. I'm sorry if that's coming off harsh. I'm not a harsh person. That was the last bit. But up until that point, I had a great time. It's Mugged up is what it is. It was fantastic. The imagery was amazing, and I must say there were parts that I struggled to follow the author's imagery more than I struggled to follow N.K. Jemison's imagery for The City We Became. That I could see perfectly. This I did struggle with a little bit, but that's fine. I normally, if I struggle, I just go back and reread it. If I still can't grasp it, I just move on. But there was only a few when they were like describing something. That's when I was like, I don't understand. I did struggle a bit. Sorry if that's a bit jumpy. My brother just came in. He's like, oh, he's like, you film it. It's like, yeah. He's like, oops. It's okay. I paused it in time. But yeah. So this. Oh, I just loved it. I really did. I know I came off really harsh a second ago, but I just thought it was so unique. I say unique. I mean, obviously, I have read and I do read horror books. I watch more horror than I read horror, which I think I've mentioned before, so I won't bang on about it. So someone will be like, "Oh, it might not be that unique," but I enjoyed it. My only qualm that's not story related is book related. I found it so cumbersome trying to read this book. I don't know why. The cover's gorgeous, but the book itself did not lend itself to cozy reading. That's all I can say. But anyway, I've waffled on long enough. I'm going to leave it at 20 so minutes because who cares? Thank you so much. Please let me know if you enjoyed any of the books that I've mentioned, and I will be back in a minute. Bye.